Well, hello, I'm Alan Hutchison. I'm one of the RMIT Online Teaching Development Coaches. And my job is to work with our teachers, online facilitators, we call them. I have one of them with me right now, one of our staff facilitators, Chris Hope. Chris, welcome. And how long have you been working with RMIT Online, and what kinds of courses do you work in?
Thanks, Alan, and thanks for having me. So I've been working with RMIT Online now for just over a year, and primarily working in the MBA program online, and primarily teaching courses around leadership and management of innovation and technology, and also a little bit of digital entrepreneurship in there as well.
I believe it's not that long, Chris, since you were a student at RMIT University yourself. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I graduated from the MBA program at the end of 2019 and starting in 2017. And for me, it was a real transformation, both professionally and personally, and very grateful to RMIT for that. I went through a lot of changes and learned a lot, and met some great friends and great people throughout the course. And of course, it's led me, probably onto this opportunity as well with RMIT Online. So always grateful to RMIT for my MBA experience.
RMIT Online courses are designed from the ground up to be 100% online. And it's not as though we're delivering lectures by video because of coronavirus or something of that kind. How would you compare the on-campus learning journey that you went through, say, with your MBA, with the kinds of experiences that we provide for our students in a 100% online environment? And how do we do that effectively?
Yeah, I think there's the obvious kind of examples of, when you go face-to-face in class, perhaps there's a bit better and easier way to meet other students and maybe build a bit more of a community around students as well. But I still believe that there's opportunities as an online teacher and through online courses to still be able to do that. I think that, community building has been a big focus of my teaching, and asking students to share their own learnings. One of the great things about the RMIT Online cohorts is they come from very different backgrounds, both geographically and also from a professional perspective, which is fantastic. And of course, peer learning is a very important part of what they're doing. So learning from each other. So my job is really to bring that out. And I think that in an online setting, whilst there may be some more challenges, I think there's definitely some opportunities around how you do that.
So how do students learn in an online environment? Do they primarily learn by listening to their teacher, or do they actually do things like help me to imagine, for example, what's a webinar like? What do you do as a teacher, but also what do the students actually do in a webinar?
Yeah, so primarily all of the course content is on Canvas, so the learning platform that students can access. So there's lots of resources on there for students. They'll work through activities across the course of the week. And of course, their assignments will also be on there as well. In terms of the webinars, the main focus of the webinars is really on bringing those learnings to life. So asking students to do activities either in a group setting, in breakout rooms, or maybe in smaller groups, where students will work through those learnings from the week whilst also layering in their own professional learnings as well. And then really, asking students to reflect on what they learned over the course of the week, which helps to prepare them for those assignments, of course, as well.
It sounds, Chris, as though personalising or humanising the online environment is very important to you. How do you go about, as a teacher, what you might say, reading the room or getting the vibe or getting to know your students as individual people? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's obviously very important to me, and something that I really try and pride my teaching on. I think for me, it's around giving students an opportunity at the start of each webinar to have a social chat. So really getting to know them at a more personal level. So the first 10 to 15 minutes of every webinar will be focused on that social time, and then really bringing out those kind of expertise that they all have in that webinar as well, and asking them to share their own personal experiences. Even small things around, having a social time at the end of a teaching period where students can reflect on what they learned and, exchange LinkedIn, which perhaps they wouldn't normally be able to do, right? I mean, if you're in a face-to-face setting, it's a lot easier maybe to exchange those details. So it kind of comes up naturally, whereas in an online setting, maybe that doesn't come up at all. So giving students an opportunity to network with each other, giving them an opportunity to build their connections and community is something that's been a big feature of my teaching and very much embedded into every webinar that I do.
Yeah. And Chris, I get the impression that it's embedded into other things you do outside your RMITO work and indeed your professional work. So you're quite involved in, I suppose, what you might call community welfare work. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Yeah, so in 2017, I embarked on a journey where I had 100 coffees in 100 weeks with strangers. And essentially at the end of that, I was lucky to deliver a TEDx talk on the power of human connection and do quite a bit of work in this human connection space around promoting, positive mental health and wellness through connection. And it's been a big feature of my work. So in 2019, I founded a nonprofit. We've been working in that space, delivering workshops and programs. And last year during COVID, we actually did a project where we delivered meals to vulnerable international students because, of course, there's lots of people that were struggled through the pandemic. And I think giving people, some help where we could is really important. So definitely very much has been embedded in a lot of the work that I do and will continue to do outside of my teaching, as well as this kind of community building and the impact of human connection.
That's wonderful, Chris. And it's fantastic that you bring that kind of personal commitment to interpersonal relationships into your professional work as a teacher with RMIT Online. Now, I know that you're like a home base. You're located in Melbourne, and we've got our teachers who are not only all over Australia, but everywhere from Melbourne to Sydney to Shanghai to London. Do you get much opportunity to collaborate with and learn from your colleagues, given how spread around you are?
Yeah, definitely. One of the great things about working with RMITO has been the opportunity to collaborate with colleagues and also really to pick up different teaching tips from them. I think lots of my colleagues are really willing to share their ideas. There's a big focus within the RMIT organization around coaching facilitators and also asking facilitators to share best practices, which people are willing to do. So for me, it's been great. And I've also made a few friends as well through which is always a nice bonus. So, but definitely, a focus on professional development has come from RMITO and the ability to share and learn from each other, definitely.
That's great. And it's very reassuring to think that you can be an RMIT Online teacher from virtually anywhere in the world, anytime. Because I get the feeling that you may not be in Melbourne physically for very much longer. You're heading off, aren't you, towards London? Not exactly London. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, that's right, Alan. So I'm heading to Cambridge, to the University of Cambridge, where I'll begin studies, hopefully in person very soon. I'm waiting for an exemption from the Australian government, so
fantastic.
Hopefully they're watching this and they're going to give me one based on our conversation today. But so waiting for that exemption, and I'll head to Cambridge. So yeah, I feel very lucky to have been accepted there, and of course really looking forward to the learning opportunity and meeting lots of new people and really diving into that.
And Chris, which course are you doing at Cambridge? Which sort of course strand or pathway?
Yeah, so I'm doing a Masters by Research first, and then I'll go on to the PhD program. So looking at the impact of social connection in community. So very much aligned with the 100 Coffees and a lot of the other work that I've been doing in that space as well.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's clear talking to you, Chris, that you've got so many diverse strands to your life, but in a sense, they do cohere together. They cohere together very much around your commitment to continual learning, to sharing knowledge, and therefore to good teaching, and that notion of the importance of interpersonal connection and interactive learning. So, Chris, I better ask, that doesn't mean if you go to Cambridge that RMIT Online is going to lose you as a teacher, does it?
No, Alan, I'm staying with RMIT, so I'll stay with RMIT Online. And as you said, we have a global team, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to continuing to work with RMIT Online from the UK as well.
Oh, that's fantastic, Chris, and a great relief to me as one of the coaches, and I'm sure to any students or prospective students who happen to see this video clip, a great relief to them too, to know that they'll have you still as one of the RMIT Online teachers. But it is great that from what you've been saying, the degree of collaboration between our RMIT colleagues is so deep and continuing that no matter which online facilitator a student is allocated to, you're obviously going to get a very, very high quality of learning delivery. So Chris Hope, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to meet with you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, and really appreciate the opportunity.